Here's the goals. I want to talk about Query Store, and I want to cover Query Store in some detail, and I want to show you some of the ways it's going to change the way you're doing query tuning today, the way you identify problem queries, the way you fix problem queries, and I want to talk to you about how you do upgrades. And that's basically the gist of the thing today. Anybody wants to get up and leave now, great time, I understand. But these are the goals. This is what we'll try to hit. And my name is Grant Fritchey. I work for Redgate Software. I love my job. I'm very, very lucky in my job. If you have questions on this topic after today, I would really love for you to send me an email or contact me on Twitter or go by my YouTube channel. I've got all kinds of additional blog posts on Query Store. I've got videos on Query Store. I am writing a book right now. I'm only writing about a third of it. The other 2/3 are being written by Tracy Bagiano. I can't never get her last name right. Anyway, Tracy is writing a book with me, and it will be out soonish. But it's all on Query Store for SQL Server 2019. But anyway, get in touch. I don't have an About Me slide. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to know how long I've been in the business. I have gray hair. I've been working a long time. That's enough. So, I know this beautiful city. I've visited it twice now. It's a great place. You might recognize it. And yeah, it's having a bad day. So, Query Store has been advertised as the black box of SQL Server, right? The flight data recorder of SQL Server. And flight data recorders are fine, you know. When this happens, we can figure out why. Why did the meteor hit the Earth? Or what happened after the meteor hit the Earth? But honestly, I kind of don't care. What I really want is an undo button. Because, you know, I like Wrocław. It's a nice place. I've had a really good time here. I've been to some nice restaurants. I've been to, a couple of good pubs. It's a great spot. Let's just make sure it looks like, keeps looking like it does. Let's use an undo button. Now, Query Store is not a complete undo button. And yeah, Query Store is something of a flight data recorder. But it is a bit of an undo button. And for that, I'm going to talk about how and where it can be an undo button for you guys. And that's one of the big things that excites me about this. Anybody who was in my session yesterday, I was angry and mean. I was talking about SQL injection, and I won't talk about it anymore because it makes my blood pressure go up and I get angry and mean. And I was very much what in the States we call a Debbie Downer, right? I had just nothing but bad news. I was saying bad things about developers, and today it's nothing but joy because I love Query Store, and there's all kinds of fun stuff to say about it because of this. It helps. This is a great tool. We're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. Who in here is working on less than SQL Server 2014 predominantly? Come on, hands up. You're not in the UK. Come on. More than half the room, approximately. Okay, cool. Neat and good. Here's the deal. You will not upgrade to SQL Server 2014. Friends don't let friends upgrade to 2014, okay? I'm your friend. I'm not going to let you upgrade to 2014. You're going to ask why. Really simple answer. Brand spanking new cardinality estimation engine, which changes some, but not all, and certainly a very minor number of query plans to be heinous and horrible. And it doesn't give us any knobs to undo the problem. Query Store gives us an undo button. And so you're all going to upgrade when you move away from 2012, 2008, 2008 R2, 2005, the 6 of you who are still running 2000, and the one person in the corner hiding who is running 7. Nobody's running 6.5, right? Okay, good. Thank you. He lied. You know that, right? He is running 6.5. I know you're not. I'm teasing. This also works in Azure SQL Database, and it works in 2016, 2017, and it's coming out in 2019. So you guys have all that and stuff. It does not work in Azure Data Warehouse. It does work in Managed Instance, because Managed Instance is just the SQL Server instance. So this works. But we're not going to 2014. However, the reason I put a question mark up for 2014 is because it's fun. I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff today, including DMVs. I'm sorry, not DMVs. That was a bad phrase. System tables. I'm going to show you system tables that are for Query Store, and those system tables are in SQL Server 2014. It almost got there. They almost put it in the product, but it didn't make it. So anyway, this is what we're going to be talking about today, is 2016 plus and Azure SQL Database. So the Query Store. Now the Query Store is very, very simple to understand. It consists of plan store. It stores query execution plans. Cool. All of them by default. By default, it captures every single execution plan. So if you've got multiple recompiles, you've got ad hoc queries, all that fun stuff, it captures every plan. Unlike cache, cache doesn't capture every plan. Say you have a query with a recompile query hint. That recompile query hint means that plan will never go into cache, but Query Store will still capture it. This is awesome. This is great. Anytime a recompile occurs, if it's a new plan, it goes to the Query Store. Lots and lots and lots of plans in Query Store. So that's great. That's one thing it captures. The other thing it captures is runtime statistics. Runtime statistics. How long did the query take? Ah, neat. How much CPU did it use? How many writes did it have? Oh, and in 2017 and up, wait statistics. Per query, wait statistics per query. That's fantastic. Now these runtime stats are captured and stored in an aggregated fashion. So it's not every individual call. So this isn't like a replacement for extended events, which you all use, right? Lie to me, please. Okay, cool. Good, that's what I want to hear. Thank you. And that's what makes up Query Store, right? It is the wait statistics, the runtime stats aggregated over an interval, which we'll talk about in a second, and the plans. And that's Query Store. That's it. You guys can go. Okay, you want more? All right. So how it works is the query optimization process occurs as the query optimization process occurs. You know, it builds the trees, it does the checks, it does the, all that stuff. There's books out there written on it. All kinds of fun stuff. It does it normally. But there's an asynchronous process that captures the plan and puts it up into a space in memory. Yes, this uses some memory, but it is an asynchronous thing. It puts it in memory. There is a second process that asynchronously comes along and reads that memory every 15 minutes by default, and you can adjust that, and writes it to disk so that it is permanently stored after it gets to disk. And this happens all the time. So plans go through the optimization process completes, plan gets captured through the asynchronous thing, put it in memory, and then later gets written to disk. Meanwhile, the query is executing. Query execution occurs as normal, nothing shocking there. But when it completes, the intervals and time and CPU and all that stuff it took is added to a memory space asynchronously. And then after time, that asynchronous process will get written to disk, and it will be aggregated over the interval. The default is 60 minutes. So it'll be 60-minute intervals. And by the way, it's not on the hour, it's from when you start. Whatever moment you start, 60 minutes after that is when it, ticks over and starts a new interval. Everybody cool? That's Query Store. That's basically the way it works. Now there's a hitch in that. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, what does it capture? Well, it captures some cool stuff. The main thing is it works off of queries. Now, I really want to emphasize that. Queries. I used to make jokes about people who got calls, but then I interrupted somebody who had something really important, and I felt bad, so I never do that anymore. It's focused on the query, not the batch or the stored procedure. It's the individual statements. Each query is what it's storing, and it breaks it down that way. And that's the first thing you need to keep in mind. Yeah, yes, it has object ID. So yeah, you can retrieve, show me the behavior of this stored procedure. Show me the execution plans for this stored procedure. Show me the stuff, because I've got the object ID, I can go and get it. But it needs to break it down by query. Now, obviously, if it's breaking it down by query, one of the things you're going to get is text, because SQL text. And yeah, you can have more than one query with the same SQL text, so it's a one-to-many on that. And then it stores plans, execution plans. And it also has the fun stuff of, is it a trivial plan? What's the plan hash? What's the compatibility level for the plan? Keep that in mind. This is foreshadowing for movie fans. Compatibility level, really important. Even the engine version is stored with the plan that it captures. And a whole bunch of extra stuff. So this is what we're storing as far as the query goes. Now, the runtime metrics are really simple. It's these system views again. It's going to store them based on an interval. The interval has a start and stop time, and the default is 60 minutes. It's going to store weight stats. The weight stats are grouped by a category. So it's not storing every weight. It's grouping over a 60-minute period and then subgrouping within that 50-minute by category. And there's I forget, 22 categories. I forget the exact number, but there's a number of, I just wrote that chapter. I can't believe I don't remember the number, but there's a certain number of categories that it groups by, and you will see those. So you're not going to get detailed information. If you want that, where do we go? Thank you. Thank you for lying to me. Extended events. He was correct. We don't go to trace. We don't use trace. Nobody uses trace, right? Good. That's what I want to hear. You also get the runtime stats. And so what they've done there is they've got the average runtime, the max runtime, the min runtime, the average CPU, min CPU. But they've added another data point that's really vital, standard deviation. So now instead of just looking at the average and then going, well, gosh, is everything within this really narrow little range, or do we have it like this, or what's the distribution? I don't know. They've added standard deviation, so now we can actually look at the average and see if that average is fairly accurate or if it's wildly disparate. And it gives us more data to try to identify badly performing queries or wildly differently performing queries. So that right there is going to change the way we start doing query tuning, because it changes the way we can identify the queries that we're tuning. Everybody cool? Awesome. So what do we get to control, right? I mean, who in here is like a DBA type-ish, reluctant or not? Oh, 3 people? Come on. 5 people. Okay, fine. We'll go with 5 people out of 200. That's a lie, but fine, cool. What do we control? First off, we can turn it on or off. Oh, cool, Grant, well done. By database. What do you mean by database? This is a database-specific data collection utility. You turn it on for a database or you turn it off for a database. I got 500 databases on my server. Cool, turn it on 500 times. Or off, whatever. I mean, you guys deal with it, figure it out. But you turn it on or off by database. And these are system tables. So the data it stores, and it is persistently stored as a system table with the database. These get written to the primary file group, and I've had people start freaking out about that, and I'm kind of like, why? Well, because I can't add things to my primary file group. I'm like, well, do you already add, do you add tables to your database? Yep. Well, you know where that gets written, right? What do you mean? Well, it goes to a system table. You know where the system tables are stored? Primary file group. Oh, yeah, okay, never mind. This is cool. Right, exactly. So it goes to the primary file group. It's fine. But understand, it's in the primary file group. When you back up the database, you back up query store. When you restore database, you restore query store. And all the ad hoc queries with personal identifying information, therefore violating the GDPR in your non-production environment. So you need to make sure that you take that into account and clear out this stuff when you start to move it into non-production environments, okay? But for troubleshooting purposes, like, hey, let's move this over here while we work on it, excellent, we've still got all the data, right? We're not going to try to track down, okay, well, how long did the query take to run on average? How long was it yesterday at 3 o'clock? I mean, I don't know. We've got all that stuff. You do get to control the time it takes to flush the disk. As I said before, it's 15 minutes, but if you're finding the memory pressure is too much, you can make it flush faster. If you're finding that's causing I/O problems, you can make it flush longer. You guys can make those adjustments as needed. 2019 has got some new knobs. I'm not going to talk about those because it's not released yet, but it's got some new knobs, so it's going to make it better. You get to control the size of storage. By default, 100 megs, unless you're in basic in Azure, and then it's 10, or unless you're in premium in Azure, and then it's a gig. Yeah, I got that right. Otherwise, it's 100 megs. Now, most of the servers that I've been running with this, databases, sorry, because I've been running it mainly in Azure. Most of the ones I've been running with, 100 megs has covered me for 2-3 years now. No issues. But I know people who've bumped it up to 100 gigs, and it still wasn't enough because of the volume on their system. You guys will have to make those adjustments and figure it out as you go. You get to control the number of days it's in storage. By default, 30 days. Awesome. I want 60. Cool. 60. Make sure you adjust the storage so that you can store 60. I mean, it's just your call. You guys figure it out. You have a plan per query limit. The default, and I've never gotten a good answer from Microsoft why this was the default. The default is 200. Yeah, somebody went, what? Yeah, 200 plans per query. Now, that's not 200 plans per store procedure. I mean, because God knows some of our store procedures have 2,000 statements in it, so it's probably got 2,000 plans. No. It's for a single string, white space and all that stuff included. A perfect single string has 200 different plans. Now, I thought that was a joke until someone actually showed me one that had 300. And it's a beautiful rainbow of colors. It's really neat. But 300 plans. It's like, okay, fine, 200 actually makes sense. But you can change that. It does have automatic cleanup, so you can leave the data in there or you can have it get cleaned out on an automatic basis. I've generally let mine clean out, but you guys can make those calls on your own. You get to control the capture mode. Now, this is where things get really interesting because by default, it captures all. Right? I said it captures all of your plans, all your queries, all your plans. But you can not capture. Hey, I'm moving. I think the battery's dying. Anyway, you can tell it to not capture plans. You can turn Query Store on, but tell it to not capture anything. Now, I'll tell you a little while later why that's really cool. Really cool. But it also has a thing called auto. Now, auto is going to capture only the plans that have, quote, a non-insignificant load or are called multiple times. What? Well, that's what the documentation says. Want to know what it really is, at least based on current experimentation? Queries that are longer than a second or queries that are called 3 times. However, it's useful because if you've got a system that has runs a lot of ad hoc queries, you may not want to capture everything every time. So fine, turn auto on. Also, if you're already running with optimized for ad hoc, so that you're not putting all that stuff into memory, then you turn that on, and this will reduce the footprint that this thing is capturing. So that's great. It's all good stuff. But it's the magic of query store on, collection off that's really neat. And we'll get to that in just a second. And then finally, you get the aggregation interval length. And that means how long. Right now, it's 60 minutes. Now, I had a friend, and I say friend because otherwise I could say I know a jerk or an idiot. I have a friend who was like, 60 minutes, man. It's like, I want something granular. So he bumped it down to 1 minute. And after the servers, kind of stopped smoking, he put it back to 60 minutes and went, wow, that was stupid. And, cool. Also, different friend working for a company you guys actually would probably know. I can't name because it is a friend. If he wasn't a friend, I would throw him under the bus because of what he did. You ready? They had a very large server farm with lots of databases, and I'm not going to get into numbers because, again, it might give away who it is. he scripted it out and turned on Query Store everywhere, all at once, without testing it. They were down for 12 hours while he tried to recover. And this is a 24/7 website. Oh my God, the screaming and yelling, it was bad. But he's a friend, so I can't really beat him up too bad. Don't do that, okay? Any questions on anything we've covered so far? Anybody? All right, cool. How do you monitor Query Store? Hey, it's our buddy, Extended Events. You cannot use Trace to monitor Query Store. You must use Extended Events. Ha. Yay. But there's an extensive set of extended events that reflect what's going on in Query Store. And you also get wait stats, QDS, Query Data Store. You'll see those in the wait stats. If you're seeing those at the top of your wait lists, and you're not in SQL Server 2014, by the way, if you're seeing them in SQL 2014, they don't mean a darn thing. But if you're seeing them in something other than 2014, and it's, near the top of your wait stats, you've got problems with Query Store. You might want to look into that, all right? Let's see. Anybody in here doing in-memory OLTP? 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow, 3 out of 200. That's great. That's huge. It's exactly the same. Well, except for the fact that some of the data is not persisted, that you have to use SP, XTP, control query stats. Plan forcing can absolutely fail. There are no memory grants, and you need to recompile in order to capture some metrics. Other than that, it's identical, so have fun. So, remember I said that there's a magic undo button. There's this thing called plan forcing. Remember I said how it's all asynchronous and it's not going to interfere with anything? Yeah, it's kind of a lie. There's this thing called plan forcing. And what happens is that you tell plan forcing, you say, hey, you know what? I like this plan. This plan is behaving well. Use it. Now, what it looks like happens is it looks like Query Store has now told the optimizer, pick this plan up from me, drag it over to here, and use it. And that's, to a large extent, that's what happens. But it's not really what happens. What really happens is the optimizer still goes through its normal optimization process, but it has guidance from Query Store. And that guidance is saying, get this plan shape. Or, and this is fun because this is the technical phrase from Microsoft, a morally equivalent plan. What? That's the technical phrase, and I don't have a better answer for you than that. What you will see, though, is the behavior of the plans are going to be very, very, very close. But because of this, there's little gotchas. For example, you create a table variable. Cool. Does that mean it doesn't work? No, table variables are fine, it works. You put a primary key on the table variable, and you can't name the primary key on table variables. Well, you can, but anyway. You get that automated primary key name on that table variable, and you try to force the plan. Nope. Because the objects all have to be the same. And different primary key names mean different objects, and therefore plan forcing fails. Because plan forcing can only enforce a valid plan. You can't, for example, go, I love this plan. This plan's awesome. And it hits tables A, B, and C, and it uses indexes, and it seeks, and it does loops join, and it's just so pretty and so performant that I'm going to pick it up and put it over here on tables Z, Y, and L. No, not allowed. You have to have the plan be valid. Now, plan forcing is cool because it is stored with Query Store. Therefore, it is persisted to disk. Therefore, backup and restore. Failover means plan forcing moves with the Query Store database. Awesome. Yeah. Shut down the server. No big deal. Plan forcing comes back up. Failovers. Yes! We've got another method of controlling behavior within queries. Who's excited? A third of the room. Oh. Fine. You guys want to play? Erland, I didn't see you. What's up, Erland? Yeah? If you have a temp table, you can get into problems. And like I said about table variables, you can also get into problems. Anything else? Okay, cool. All right. Turning Query Store on is hard. You're waiting for more, right? That was it. Turning Query Store on is hard. It's really difficult. I'm just going to make sure that this store procedure is recompiled and happy. I'm fairly certain it is. I tested it beforehand, but I'm a DBA, paranoid control freak. So I don't know exactly what's in Query Store right now. I have not cleared it, so I'm just going to execute a query so we can get one query in Query Store just in case. And so what we've got now is I'm going to the system tables, Query Store query, Query Store query text. I'm joining them up, and we're retrieving the data. And here are the results. I'll zoom in for you. We have a few queries. Cool. Come on. Zoom in. No. Good girl. There we go. Get off my screen. So you can see that there are a few queries. Now, those may not look like queries that you would expected to see, especially, well, you know, the bit at the bottom. City in varchar 30, select address. Weird, huh? We're doing good. Good. Because if we look at the query that we ran, select address, do you see in here, in varchar 30 thing? No, but we do see it. Where do we see it? In the parameter definition. This is important later, okay? Foreshadowing. I see Rob in the back. He likes movies. Turning Query Store off is hard. I'm not going to do it right now because we need it. But actually I'll do it. What the heck? We turn Query Store off, which means we lose all the data, right? Oh, no, we don't lose the data. It's persisted. Until we tell it to go away or it hits the age limit or anything else, it's going to be there. So there's nothing we can do to make that stuff go away. So let's turn it back on because, if we want to remove everything, I'm not going to because I kind of need data for demos. But all we got to do is alter database, set query store clear. Gone. Okay? Instant. Just gone. Let's turn it back on so if it's on, the demos will work. That makes sense, right? Now, I already said all the things you can control. Well, you can actually look at them programmatically and see what's going on. So we can go in here and say, like, what's the desired state? It's in read-write. It's read-only. Flush intervals at 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes. Storage size right now is 1,000. I think I bumped mine up during the demos the day before yesterday. Plans per query limit, I've bumped it's at 200, which is the default. Threshold days is, the stuff I talked about. It's all right there. And then you can control it the same way as you do anything else. Alter database, set query store, max storage size, 200. Okay. Alter database, set queries, plans per query, 200's too high. Oh, well, no, I set it back to 200. I've been messing with it. But it's really simple to do. Now, here's a little hitch. Remember, everything goes into memory asynchronously. Cool. And then in a 15-minute interval, it will get written to disk for persistence. Cool. What happens if you want to do a failover manually or shut down the server? Well, you wait for that 15 minutes for the stuff to flush to disk. Okay, but what happens during that 15 minutes while you're waiting? Well, it does more stuff, and then, okay, fine. Tell me what to do, Grant. Exec sp query store flush db will force the data to disk. dude, I got 500 databases. Yeah, okay, fine, run it 500 times. That's not cool. Oh, that's your problem, it's not mine. But that's just how you do it. That will force that stuff to go to disk. Let's see, query stats, query text. Yeah, I skipped some of the demos. By the way, these scripts are all available right now at scarydba.com/resources2. Why not resources or resources1? Because those got assigned to something else. Resources2. It's there. So now, if we want to, we can start to pull together interesting information. For example, the query parameterization type, last time it got executed, how many times it's been recompiled or compiled, and the optimization duration, all that fun stuff. And so we see it. Here's the query, here's the statement handle, here's the object ID, if any. The parameterization type, if it has some, none, user, forced, simple, it's all cool stuff. How many times it's been compiled, you'll see not much, because this is all cleared out from when I'm doing demos for you guys and when I'm practicing for me. We can, if we want to, combine this data with dynamic management views. Now, I'm not sure why I would want to be honest, but I thought of it, I tested it, it works, so I'm showing you. You can combine it with system exec query stats. So if you're curious about pulling in the query stats instead of using the statistics we already have captured, I don't know why, but maybe you're just worried about the stuff that's only in cache right now. Okay, cool, that's what that is. So we're going to now just look at the query store information from the query plans that are in cache. All right, we can do that, from the queries that are in cache. That's cool. Just showing you query weight stats. And the results are based on that QDS stuff. Cool. And so then you can go to town on it. So let's say we want SQL text. How long did it take to compile? Because compile time really, really matters eventually. The query plan itself, fine. It's stored as text, so I'm going to cast it as XML. In some cases, that may cause a problem, because you've got a nested plan so deep it doesn't fit inside the XML data type. It's a possible thing. That's why they store it as text, by the way. So this query might not work in all cases, in which case you can export that XML to a file and then open up the execution plans from the file. Everybody cool with that? If it's really big, you can do that. I don't have a demo of it. Maybe I'll put something up on the blog at some point. Let's see, the execution type, the count of executions, average duration, min, max, average CPU, average logical reads, and pull it all together for one stored procedure. Oh, okay. Fine. Wait a minute, I thought we said for one stored procedure. Why are there two values here? Anybody? It could be one of two issues. It could be two different time periods. Somebody up front already said it. Remember, because those intervals are 60-minute intervals. So it could be that I tested this earlier in the day. I did. Or it could be because I didn't check that I have extra execution plans. I may have more than one plan. And you see there's a difference in the average compile duration. That could be an indicator. So let's click on this plan and see what we've got. Zoom out just a little bit. Okay, so it's a merge join and a sort and all that fun stuff. Let's click on the other plan and see what that is. Merge join and all the other fun stuff. So this is the fact that it is two time intervals. Woo! Okay, cool, awesome. I love it when I explain it right the first time. Good. Then I did have two explanations ready. Don't worry about the workaround. That's been fixed. Query runtime, context, okay, yeah, finding a query. All right, now I said this was going to be nothing but joy and happiness, right? Okay, so I lied a little. There's one snag in the way the whole thing works, and that's tracking down individual queries can sometimes be a pain in the bottom. Now, Microsoft is very nice. They gave us this cool system function. Sys function, statement, SQL handle from SQL statement. It's this one right here. Right? Sys function, sys function, yeah, English is hard. Sys function statement, SQL handle from SQL statement. So, we're going to run this query, and it's going to retrieve some information for us. Oops, it didn't retrieve anything. Why? Well, we'll find out in just a second. So here's a query. Don't worry about the query. There's nothing fancy. It's just a somewhat teeny tiny bit complicated. That's all this query is meant to do. It's an ad hoc query that's just a little bit complicated. All right, so if I execute that, that's now going to move into the query store, right? Because I've executed it, therefore it's going to go in query store. And so now I can do a select and retrieve the information based on that query. And yes, I've escaped the single quotes, you see. But other than that, that's identical to the query that we ran. Everyone? Okay. And the results, whoops. I executed it. Thought I did. Whoa, okay. Nope, this isn't part of the show. God, did I forget to turn Query Store back on? Hang on one second. What's that? Oh, am I missing the semicolon at the end? Could be. Hang on one second. Let's make sure it's on. Little paranoia does not hurt. You're right. Dead on. Good eyeball. There we go. By the way, it does have to be exact. Not sure how I missed that. Well, we don't put semicolons at the front, Aaron. Ever, ever, ever. We use them the way God intended them. Wow, that's weird. Okay, we're going to move on because I'm sure I can get this to work. Fingers crossed, he said. I want to look at this query, and now this one is not going to retrieve, no matter what we do. If it comes back, I'm going to cry. Cool, it didn't. Good. Why not? Well, let's take a look at the plan real quick. Let's go back here, execute it, open up the query plan, and take a look at the properties of the first operator. And in the properties of the first operator, we see something interesting. We see a parameter list. Now, that was an ad hoc query, and it's a trivial plan. So what happened? Well, the optimizer's smart, and it said, hey, that's a cute little query you've got there, but you hard-coded this one little value. And if you call that same cute query with a different value, I have to compile it, and that's stupid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to parameterize that for you through a process called simple parameterization. And now it's available for you to reuse, and I don't have to recompile it every time. Thank you, optimizer. You're a pal. So that's what happened. But what it means is that the string doesn't match anymore. So that's why we have to use, and God, if this doesn't work, I don't know what's wrong, because everything was working earlier. That's why we have to use system function statement SQL handle from SQL statement. Let's take a look at what it returns, if it returns anything. Oh my God. Is Query Store off? Hang on. Normally I show the GUI a little later, but I'm going to go to the GUI just to see what the heck's going on. The demo gods are out to get me today. All right, so we are in read write. Capture mode is set to auto. Who did that? Rob, were you messing with this? Is this a test? All right, so capture mode is set to auto, meaning it's not capturing anything. Oh, come on. Hang on, it's behaving really slowly while I'm zoomed in. Let me just zoom back out and fix it. All. Okay. Oh, silly rabbit. That was the problem. If we'd executed that other query one more time, it would have been there. All right. Did this thing return results? It did. Cool. So now, finally, at long last, now that Grant has fixed his stupidity, hey, look at that. And so, see that at small int select star? Does that look familiar? Because someone mentioned a whole bunch of stuff about that earlier, right? Somebody? Remember it was varchar 30 and the other query? Same thing. This is parameterized, so it's gone in there in front. It shows the parameter values as part of the SQL string. So that's why we use the function statement handle, blah, 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 blah. That's why we use that to retrieve these data. So that means, cool, now I know that if I try to pull, I can pull information out by object ID, of course, but what I need to do is just pull it out where the text is equal to the select statement. So I can retrieve this and it'll come, oh, no, that didn't work. Fine, I know what to do. I'm going to use function statement SQL handle from SQL statement, because that's what that thing does. Oh no. Oh, demos are junk. Or this is the one place where Microsoft has kind of shot us in the foot. Notice I didn't say we shot ourselves. So let's go back over to here 1 second, because it will be easier if you can see it. Here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to use a complex technical command, the like statement. And now we get our results back. Whee! But here's the deal. 1 second. I actually need to re-execute the procedure because we had query store turned off, so it wasn't capturing everything. Let's see, I think I've got it down here. There we go. Sorry about that. I try not to type in demos, so it's easier just to scroll through and find things. Oh, it's still not popping up. Silly thing. Anyway, it's all because that thing doesn't work for stored procedures. It only works for forced parameterization or simple parameterization. They didn't give us anything for stored procedures except the like word. So this is the one little bit of Debbie Downer bleak blackness that I'm going to talk about today. Well, that and the meteor. Okay? All right, that's it. Now, we can do fun stuff with this because the time intervals are the cool thing. The time intervals are the cool thing. And so what we can do is, I'm not going to run this one just because I don't know exactly what time intervals I have available right now, so I don't want to get in there and try to poke at this and find stuff. But what we can do is say, 3 o'clock yesterday, things were running slow. Today it's running fine. Or 3 o'clock yesterday, everything's running fine. Today it's crap. Well, okay, fine. Let's put in 2 times. And then, no semicolon, with, Aaron, wake up. He wasn't asleep, I'm teasing. So with all the information that I want out of the runtime stats interval, the query plan, and all this fun stuff, I'm then going to use that, define that CTE, and then use that CTE twice, once for the base time, once for the compare time, and then pull together and be able to compare. Well, what was it looking like yesterday versus what does it look like today? And I can pull in the query plan, and all of the pertinent data to compare those 2 points in time. Please. Yeah, come on, that's cool. All right. Now let's see if we can see different plans. Now let me show you this plan. Oops. It helps if you turn on execution plans. Somebody should show me how to do that sometime. There we go. There's a merge join and some other stuff. And now I'm going to remove that plan from cache, but not from query store. And then if we re-execute it for a different parameter, we get a completely different execution plan. Instead of the merge, come on, zoom in. Instead of the merge, we're looking at nested loops, an index seek, and a clustered index scan. So it's 2 different execution plans. And now, if we run the query against the query store to retrieve information, what we're going to get back. What'd you do? Oh, hang on. This is still using, this is from, I forgot to comment this out because this is still doing the, this is still doing the workaround. There was a bug for a little while. They fixed it. I just haven't fixed my text yet. There we go. And so now we can see that there are multiple plans coming back. So there's more than one, guys. That's all that's there, right? Yay, cool. Let's see. We can get granular and start to take control of query store. So yeah, turn it on, turn it off, control the behavior, set the time intervals, cool, fine. But what if we want to just, for a given plan, reset the statistics, right? We've made some changes. I want to know what it looks like going forward. So I'm just going to hit SP query store reset stats for a given plan. Oh, cool. I like that. We can remove a query. Hey, that query's a mess, or maybe it contains some GDPR information, or I don't know. Let's pull it out of there. Let's just get rid of it. We can remove a plan. Oh, we had a little problem with statistics. That plan generated. It's never going to happen again because we've shot Timmy in the head. He'll never do that again. And so we're just going to pull that plan out of there, and so no one knows that it ever happened. Right? That kind of thing. Oh, I'm the only one who does that, right? Good. All right. We did the OS weight stats. Did we do the OS weight stats? I don't know. We'll do them anyway. So query store weights. That's all. There's nothing special about them. They're the similar kind of stuff you're expecting to see. It's cleaning up stale queries, load DB, DB to disk, all that fun stuff. You might see these things coming by. If they're your top weight, there's something going on in query store. That's all I can say, really. Not a whole lot of time to spend on it since this is an introduction. Let's go. Yeah, let's not do plan forcing yet. I've already showed you the GUI for controlling query store. It's just right there in the properties. What I did not show you yet is over here, when we turn query store on, inside our database, we get new reports. Brand spanking new. Now what I'm running here is Management Studio 18 against a SQL Server 2019 instance. So I'm going to see one report. Yeah, just the one. I had to double check. I'm going to see one report that you guys won't see unless you're matching what I'm doing. And that one report is the query weight statistics report. That's added to 2019. I'm not giving anything secret away. This is in the public beta, so nobody, or CTP, whatever the heck we're calling these things these days. So no worries. But what we've got here is a series of reports telling us stuff about our queries, such as, oh, I don't know, let's go with, I'm just going to zoom out so I can control things a bit easier, top resource consuming queries. And we can see that, because my query store has been cleared, so there's only a few queries in there, we can see that the query that we've been playing with, the stored procedure, is my top resource consuming query. And in fact, I have to move the mouse to make this happen, but here we go. It even has a tooltip. There it goes. Pops up and gives us information. The query ID, the object name, total duration, execution count, plan count, all that fun stuff, and then information about the query. Selecting any one of these on the left changes the information shown on the right and down at the bottom. And what it's changing it to are the various plans for the associated query. So we go back to the first one because it has 2 plans. We can then see that there are 2 plans over here, plan number 10 and plan number 18. Cool enough, clicking on either of these plans opens up the plan from Query Store down in the bottom pane. And these are fully functional execution plans. So you can go in here and look at all the properties and all the fun stuff about it, just like regular execution plans. Now you'll notice it doesn't have some of the runtime metrics like the plans we looked at earlier. That's because all the plans in Query Store are what are called by Microsoft and by me, reluctantly, estimated plans. Oh no, estimated plans, they suck. Well, no, all plans are estimated, just some plans have runtime statistics. Totally different discussion. Go with it. Okay? Everybody do this. Okay, good. Cool. But these are fully functional. I mean, they've got the ugly tooltips that I hate. Aaron and Sentry One have got nice tooltips. They work. Otherwise, I just go to the properties for everything. See, I say nice things too. They really do have a great product. It's called Plan Explorer from Sentry One. Has nothing to do with Query Store. You guys cool? Okay. Just checking. So now I'm not going to show you the one, well, no, not yet. I'm going to go back to code. I like code better. Now we've already seen that there are 2 different plans. If London is done, there's a merge plan. If the city of Mentor is used, there's a loops plan. And this is because of parameter sniffing. One has 400 values, one has 2. Or 1, I forget which. And those 2 differences cause a merge plan is better for 400 or a loops plan is better for 2. And therefore, behavior changes, right? 2 different plans, 2 different behaviors. Frankly, the plan for London works well for London, but doesn't work well for any of the rest of our data. All of the rest of the data works better for the Mentor plan. So, if we want to, we can do this thing called plan forcing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out the query ID and the plan ID from these 2 things. And the results came back. And the query ID should be the same for both, 9. And the plans are 10 and 18. Okay? Everybody cool? Awesome. And yeah, I know there was another query there, but that's because I recompiled stuff, and so it reset things, and don't worry about that. I have, trust me, I have multiple stored procedures called address by city. Once I've got that, what I can do is say, well, query ID was 9. Plan ID, which one do you want? 10 or 18? 18. Cool. 18. Plan forcing is hard. What? Query ID 9 wasn't found. What do you mean query ID 9 wasn't found? Did I misread that? Oh. Oh, I did. I totally misread it. Thank you. 225. My bad. Call me Timmy. If anyone's out there's named Tim or Timmy, you're probably getting very angry with me. It's not personal. Like I said, forcing queries is hard. Now, if we recompile this plan, what we're going to do is pull it out of cache. And rerun it for London. The execution plan we get is not the merge plan. It's the loops plan. We can see it right here. Right? Everybody see it? Is there an indicator that this is forced? Nope. Except one place. We go into the properties, get that tooltip out of my face. Right here. Use plan true. Forced plan. Wow. Or we go over here to the reports, we refresh it, and now notice this little check mark. Now, DBAs in the room, senior DBAs and consultants. This button in here, right here, is your bestest buddy in the world. Because there's going to be a report that shows forced plans. Because what's going to happen? Timmy, the junior DBA, and apologies to anyone named Tim, is going to open up the, hey, top resource consuming queries, and he's going to walk through the report. Click, this one was faster, force. Click, this one was faster, force. Click, click. So, because it's 3 mouse clicks to force a plan. 3. Oh boy. So you guys are going to come in, you're going to run a report. The report's going to show regress queries. You're going to open it up, there's going to be 10,000 of them. You're going to run a script and unforce all 10,000, and performance is going to shoot through the roof after a couple of recompiles, and you guys will be heroes. You're welcome. Meanwhile, I'm going to unforce this plan so that any demos I do in the future are not problematic like the one that we had today. Come on. And that's plan forcing and the query store. Now, so this changes the way we're doing performance tuning because it changes the way we monitor. We can collect data differently. We've got new information available, such as weights per query easily. We've got standard deviation, so we've got now mathematics we can start to apply to stuff. So there's brand spanking new information. We've got a tool that helps us fix bad parameter sniffing. Forcing a plan without changing code, without doing query hints. We've got a tool that lets us fix cardinality estimation engine issues. Again, query forcing without modifying code. And structural problems leading to plan differences. We've got a way to fix them. So here's the big deal. What this gives us is upgrade opportunities. All you people who are on 2012 or less, you're going to skip 14 because no one goes there anymore, right? It's a bad neighborhood. There's actually nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't have query store. You're going to skip 14, you're going to upgrade to 2016 or better. You're going to leave it in the old compatibility mode, but you're going to turn query store on. You're going to run your load, whether that's 1 day, 2 days a week, 3 weeks a month, your call, you figure it out, I don't know, right? It's your system. Then you're going to change the compatibility level. You're going to have 3 or 4 queries that go You're going to look at the regressed queries report, and it's going to tell you, hey, these queries are going Force the old plan using the old compatibility level, because it will be there, and suddenly the query behavior is back to normal. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully we've hit these goals, and you guys have got a good idea why I am thrilled with the idea of query store. It is so exciting. The whole idea of having to find the query is a little pain on the bottom, but other than that, this thing is an amazing set of tools. If you've got questions after today, I think we've got like a minute and a half left if there's any questions. But if you've got questions after today, you've got my contact information. I would normally say I'll hang around afterwards and answer any questions you want, but we're going to hop in a car and drive to Warsaw. So this is goodbye and thank you, really. Are there any questions right now?